Craig, you've been running learning teams for a while now, and are you able to share with us a success of one of the task-based learning teams that you've run?
Yeah, so one of the first learning teams that we ran was at Rocklea in Brisbane, and the focus of that learning team was how we approach equipment jams, because, as you know, a jam in equipment, it's a non-routine activity, and it's a period of heightened risk for our workers. And so what we wanted to do was explore more deeply some of the things that were contributing to the performance of the equipment to try and reduce the amount of jams that we were experiencing. Out of that learning team, the conversation went in a number of different directions, and one area that we explored was around the role of how to clean the equipment periodically. One of the challenges that we have within our business is plastic shrink wrap that comes back in on our pallets. Yep. That, as we convey the unrepaired pallets through to the servicing stations, that shrink wrap can actually fall off on our rollers and the roller conveyors and get wrapped around the drive shafts. When that happens, it builds up, it can get into bearings and cause mechanical failures. So we need to periodically clean the plastic off these rollers. Now, if you can imagine, there's heaps of wraps around a particular shaft. Yeah. You can't just pull it off by hand, and so it's a very time-consuming exercise to try and remove this. And the best way that we could was with something like a Stanley knife, so an open-bladed knife, which is, again, not the safest way of doing it, but there was no other way. Yeah. One of the great discoveries that we had out of this learning team was where the team started to talk about the existence of a hot knife. So for those that might be familiar with a hot knife, it's essentially it's like a soldering iron with a thin wire between it. Yeah. You often see them used in chandleries for rope cutters. They also call them rope cutters. So it's designed to heat the wire up to a point that doesn't cause the rope to catch fire, but it melts through the rope quite easily. Yeah. So the idea was to actually try one of these rope cutters to see if we could remove the plastic more easily. And when they tried one of these things, it was just a revelation for the site. So instead of spending maybe 5 minutes trying to cut off plastic off a single roller, with a hot knife, they basically just sit the knife on the plastic and it melts straight through, and the plastic just falls away. And then you can sweep it up off the floor. So we've taken something which might take 5 minutes down to about 10 seconds. And we've eliminated the risk of hand and finger injuries from using an open-bladed knife. Yep. So, and it was great. The service centre manager was thrilled at the idea, and they bought one to trial initially. And then he went back to his team and said, what are your comments about this thing? And he said the most common comment that he got back from them was, why did you only buy one for the trial? So that was, as I say, that's just one of a number of really great little innovations that we've had out of these learning teams. But it was quite a significant one, and a way of greatly reducing what was a real risk within our business.
Isn't it? It's amazing, isn't it? Because that was almost an efficiency solution, but also the impacts, it's safety. And a lot of these learning team solutions are actually just about work, aren't they?
Yeah, correct. The the notion that when you try and implement controls, that they're just controls around safety is generally incorrect. So the things that you need to apply to your workplace to improve safety are generally the same sort of things that are going to improve productivity and quality, customer experience, and those sorts of things as well. So you're killing a number of birds with one stone. What we find with the learning teams is where we might start with a safety problem. Very quickly, we start exploring some productivity areas which are directly impacting productivity or directly impacting quality, maintenance of equipment. All these sorts of things start to come out once people feel free to really share their stories with us.
I think it goes to that systems drive behaviour, and the behaviour sometimes and the adaptation that we force on our people is because of the systems we have, and then that affects, and that's because of production, but it affects the safety, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So using the learning teams as a way of giving people a right to challenge those systems. Again, a simple adaptation of the HOP principles that we're working on at the moment is we had a stop for safety session.
Yep.
It was in October. So, and generally our stop for safety sessions were traditionally more around, we'll stop, we'll pull everyone together. And as I say, it's not to say that it was a bad thing to do, it was a really good thing to do, but the messaging was more around stop, focus on what you're doing, be more attentive to what you're doing to try and not make errors.
Yeah.
The last stop for safety session that we did in October, we actually put a very different slant on the conversation that the supervisors were having with their teams, and it was about, tell us about the things that don't make sense out there. So pull the team together and just have that slightly different conversation with them, give them the license to challenge that procedure that it might be we think it might be well written, but there might be parts of that just don't make sense to the worker on the floor. And so that was a focus of our last stop for safety session. Yeah. So again, we're sort of using the HOP principles and the HOP language in some different ways within the business. Yeah.